Alright, what's up,
Alright,
guys?
what's up?
Hello, we're back.
Oh,
Back with Sonic Generations. It's gonna be a race.
Yep. Oh boy, kinda uh feels different, from other years. It will be the first generations race ever for me.
And between two titans at that.
Yeah.
Frogknock and Blue Mania. These two guys are really close together.
I hope we can get a good race so you guys can enjoy it to the fullest.
hmm So I'm gonna be helping out with commentary again. Yes, I'm
Yeah.
still
As
here
well.
for the final time, and Dax is here as well.
I just got here.
Yep.
He just got here.
Yeah, I decided to have Sid and Dax, commentate the run and whatnot in a race setting, while me and Blumena will we're gonna focusing on the run. So I won't be speaking too much, if at all, during the run. But Sid and Dax has done this many times. SDQ, they have experience, man. Like, come on now. So we should be good.
Oh,
Alright,
yeah.
whenever you're ready, just let me
Uh,
know.
all right. Should I count down then?
Sure.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck, have fun.
Thank you.
To both, yeah. Haha. Alright, so here we have Sonic Generations. Going into the first stage, Green Hill.
Stage
gonna
might be a
start
little
off-
familiar.
Oh yeah, a little bit. From many games. Many games. But they went for a little bit of a bounce off an enemy at the start. Didn't quite work out the way I wanted to. But Fox seemed to get it.
Yeah, you're going
It's
to be
very
seeing a lot of spin dash jumping in this case, which is quite good in this game. The ability to kind of stop a lot of your momentum, immediately go for a charge spin dash, and get super huge amount of speed is really critical for a lot of like timing some of these jumps and little gap skips and all that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Spinach jump is super good for sure.
Mhm.
And it's gonna be your main source of going fast with classic Sonic. There is not gonna be too many like big skips until like later on.
Right. Just going straight into modern Sonic here. The modern Sonic operates pretty similar to something you would see in Generations, Colors, that sort of thing. This is prior to the Forces, so we still have things like hops and drifting and all that kind of good stuff, which you're seeing a bunch here. Kind of using some of these turns. You can kind of boost while you're drifting to gain an exceptional amount of speed. It's kind of you're hugging the wall there because the game's really just trying to propel you forward as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. A nice thing
Also-
about the drift as well is that you get your boost back. So
Right. You're also going to see a few times going from a 2D section into a 3D, or even just over certain gaps or during certain dashpad segments, they'll actually be sliding because you can conserve some of your boost meter. And in the case of going from a 3D to 2D or 2D and 3D, you can actually maintain a lot of your momentum from that section into the next one that you normally wouldn't have by doing something like a slide.
indeed, very useful for conserving your speed. And, aside from that, in this game, unfortunately, Sonic does not have his double jump. He kind of forgot how to do that, but instead he
Right.
does like have access to both the air boost and the homing attack like at all times,
Hmm.
provided he has boost.
Yeah, air boosting is a bit trickier compared to something like Colors of Forces, in the sense that you do pretty much you only get one quick shot in it, and every time you obviously use the boost, you consume a large portion of your gauge as well. So there is quite a number of stages in this game that require, at least for the speedrun anyway, require a lot of precise boost management, if you will, which sounds kind of weird. I know a lot of people think, oh, you just hold the button, but there's actually a lot of cases, especially when it comes to clearing a lot of gaps with little kind of like short hop air boosts and that sort of thing. You end up spending a lot of meter really, really quickly. You're going to see that on stuff like Sky Sanctuary, especially.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
Very nice
nothing
green
too
hills.
special going on there. Just making good use of that drift in certain sections to go extra fast.
My controller stopped working.
Oh my god.
I had to restart the game really quick.
Okay.
Yeah, so this so I love PC ports, but sometimes they're not perfect, and unfortunately PC gens can turn off your controller. PC gens can crash. If you watched Frox's GDQ run really recently, there are a number of little problems like that, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, I have to do Green Hill again.
Aww, rip, dude.
Didn't save the data.
Well, then that unfortunately puts Blumania in quite a hefty lead there.
Mhm.
That's just Jan's PC speedrunning for you.
Yeah.
He took a little bit of a shortcut there using the light dash, and he's about to come up to one of the biggest skips that we're going to be seeing for the early game.
Yeah, the skip is
And-
one of my favorites. You essentially kind of boost into a drift going along the side and go out of bounds there, and after that you kind of have to line yourself up looking for a certain dash pad. Ooh, went right off the side of it, unfortunately.
Yeah. He'll get another shot at it pretty much right away. There's rings in this thing here, and
Yeah.
essentially what you do is at the end of the slide, you do a bit of drift, which will, like, when you do that on a ledge, it will launch you, so you can very easily go there.
Yeah, for
And
those
hold
who
it at
maybe
the ring.
unfamiliar with the stage layout, that portion that he went into after the big skip is a 2D section, so that was a 3D and 2D, and of course you can't really see anything, but those are a bunch of these really narrow ledges that normally aren't that scary when you're in 2D, but when you're in 3D, obviously you can kind of fall out somewhere.
Oh yeah, very scary. And Generations also has this nasty habit of, like, when you skip into a later section, it's not going to be drawn. Like, the object will be physically there, you can land on all the platforms and all that, but yeah, you can't see them.
Yeah, thankfully that's something we see, a couple times during the run where the game, it keeps the collision there, for us, which is, it's very nice, but it just kind of keeps everything else deloaded.
So as Frog is finishing up Green Hill again, Romania is going into Chemical Plant Classic. It is a very straightforward stage.
Yeah, not a lot.
Yeah.
Huge load of things special about Classic Chemical. I mean, Green Hill and Chemical Classic both are, obviously, I mean, the two of the intro stages for Classic, they're both, pretty much the most simplistic for the purpose of the run. But there are a couple little nuances to Classic that I personally found a lot more enjoyable than I expected when I first started learning how to run this ages ago. And it's kind of a matter of how you actually position your jumps and the way you hold forward or back on the analog stick, and even little things like you go for a certain jump and you want to land on a very specific platform, so there's a certain point in the jump where you maybe want to tap back a little bit or hold it a certain degree. There's all these little nuances when it comes to some of the levels and certain little jumps and things like that for Classic Sonic that make it missed, and it makes it a little more difficult than what you might expect, because it seems like you're just jumping over a bunch of stuff, but there's quite a bit of precision there, which is really nice.
Like, you go really fast. You really gotta make sure you know how to react to everything properly when you go that speed. Also, Froganax coming up on the Chemical Landscape right there. Let's see the
But it's got a good angle.
entirely.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, you can sort of, thankfully there's that one large sort of halfway made gray box in the distance, and with that we can use ourselves to line Sonic up to dash pad pretty well. If that wasn't there, that'd be a bit of a tricky situation, but
For
you'll
sure.
at least have one thing. So yeah, Blumania is on a Classic Sky Sanctuary right now. One of the first kind of really difficult stages to pull off pretty precisely. There's some kind of weird quirks and things when it comes to positioning Sonic. A lot of
Trying to get a lot of good ramp jumps later on, because with all the stairs in this stage, you can, position yourself really well for ramp jumps and actually skip a bit of section. He has a bit of trouble with that one, but he'll get it.
Yeah, there you go. You can really abuse like some of the physics when it comes to Sonic sort of bouncing off of objects, and thankfully in Generations, and this is particularly unique for Generations, Classic Sonic, if you jump on an enemy from below the enemy, you'll actually bounce up. This isn't something that was in Classic, and I think they took it at Forces as well, but it's actually quite useful in a number of places, and even Modern Sonic can do it.
Shoutouts to this end section, where in 100% you gotta play this stage 3 times to get all the red rings.
Yeah, there's 3 pathways right there. You get to see all of them, so it gets to taunt you at the very end, because, why not?
Forehead.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's one man in here that knows something about Generations 100%, it's our boy Frock.
Oh, yeah.
He's been grinding the hell out of that category.
So close to sub 3 hours, man.
Oh yeah, getting it.
Mhm.
It's your PB now. At 100%.
I think it's like a
301.
301?
Yeah, 301 something.
I'm getting it down.
sub very soon.
So yeah, when I was talking about all that boost management from Sonic, you really see it in this first section of Sky Sanctuary Modern. You can see how low his boost actually is at this point. And it just, again, you have to get it just really, really tight on some of those jumps because you're doing a lot of, quick boost jumps and boost hops, which just depletes that meter really, really fast. But thankfully, if you set it up right, you can kind of keep, getting a few rings here and there to keep going.
Indeed, and there's a couple of really good sections where you can do the sliding into the 2D section here to preserve all that speed.
Right. And it's an interesting dynamic, especially with this stage when it comes to the rainbow rings, because you can play it a lot safer and spend more time doing tricks from the rainbow ring in order to get more boost, or you can play it riskier and try to get rid of the tricks as quickly as possible. Just do a couple so you can kind of get going faster. And again, it presents an interesting little risk reward dynamic there that I really like.
Mm-hmm. You get to decide how safe you want to play it or not. Now we're coming up on another 3D and 2D. This one is literally just as simple as you jump over the trigger right there.
Yeah.
And then jump around the wall because 3D in the 2D section, and a lot of the stuff actually does have collision, so it's not too difficult to make your way around the wall. End section is also really good for drifting.
Mm-hmm.
Frog is already catching up a little bit of speed just because of getting like ramp jumps and tricks for try.
That's
Really the
Sky here.
Yeah. The port really just wanted to give Frog a handicap.
I don't know about that.
Like it knows that Blue Mania has mostly been doing forces lately, so it's like, alright, let's give Frog a handicap.
So Generations is divided up into but not only mirroring stages, but a bunch of these little side missions as well. We have to do at least 3 of them, one for each sort of world from each game in order to get these keys to unlock the main boss gate. And so we're doing the Sky Sanctuary one here, which is pretty simple. Thankfully, we can just repeat what we did earlier in the Act 2, going into the 3D and 3D and 2D to get around that switch there.
There's like a small... Oh, nice
that
stuff.
was interesting. Got caught in that stomp animation. That was interesting.
Yeah. It's always nice when you hear the runners react and then you're just like, okay, what are they wowing about? And then you see later. But yeah, you gotta do like one stage from each zone and at least one modern, at least one classic, as described. Otherwise, you can get into the boss. So yeah, you just basically you pick all of the fastest stages with one exception in one of the later areas, where we're specifically want to get one of the upgrades. But we'll get to that when we get to it.
Yeah, the Buzz Bomber challenge pretty straightforward. Mostly a matter of just some precise placement for your spin dash jumps and get through it pretty effectively. Frog just finishing up Sky Sanctuary here, so he's going to be going into his own missions.
And at the start of the Sky Sanctuary mission that they have been doing, there's another like a little bit of a 3D and 2D sort of kind of thing where you launch yourself off the cloud with a boost at just the right angle, so you can skip the 2D trigger. Unfortunately, Lumania fell down for a bit there.
Not a huge time loss, thankfully. It's not a bottomless pit, or you don't end up in some sort of crazy. The challenge stages are pretty straightforward. You don't really end up in a whole lot of like crazy low paths that take an extra minute to get through or anything like that. So not too much of a detriment.
What actually has been pretty interesting in like seeing people run this over the years is that like people have just been like choosing different missions and different missions. Just in some cases, it's just based on what they want. Like I've seen people take the Bubble Shield mission here, for instance, because they feel more comfortable in completing as fast. And just as more skips have been implemented, other missions have become more important.
Yeah, there's one particular one we're going to see later on for Crisis City that I can't stand it because I can't do the trick, so I just don't do it. So I do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, that trick is nuts.
Well, along with all the missions, obviously, we do have some little side bosses to do. So Classic Sonic in this case is Metal from CD. And there's some tricky placement here that we're going to see with some other bosses later as well, in terms of how you actually kind of move forward and back and pull the camera with you in order to manipulate a boss. So you're seeing like Metal appear on the screen really quickly and then immediately get hit. That's a matter of basically just positioning. In this case, when it comes to trying to actually speed yourself up after a certain phase to go really far, and then once Metal Sonic moves forward, like pulling back a bunch basically to manipulate his position instead of him being too far to hit. Like there's a lot of stuff like that. We're going to see that a couple of examples later on when Frock does his own Metal, but can actually be, again, it's one of those little subtle things that's kind of hard to explain without giving you the controller and having you try it out for yourself. But it is quite precise in a lot of ways. So really nice Metal on Blue Mania's part.
Definitely, and I was going into Death Tech Robot.
Yeah, Frock had a beautiful challenge there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Making up a lot of time on Blue Mania there.
Yeah, it was very clean.
And now the start of Death Like Robot is going to be a little bit of luck based. Yeah, Death Like Robot can like choose one of 3 attacks, and like just a fast one and a slow one, and they have one where you just cannot even go under his feet at all and get to his butt to hit him. But fortunately, Blue Mania lucked out there. And then once you get to the top here, rather than actually taking the 2D section, instead you're just gonna allow himself to get stomped on, which will once again make Death Like Robot's butt vulnerable. Gonna do that twice, and give him a good spanking.
Yeah, one of the trickiest things about that is making sure that you don't take up too many rings, because if you get in a spot where after you get hit, if you can't collect any more, then you're kind of out of luck. So it's good to leave a few of them on the field. Rocky through Metal really nicely. We'll be going into his own Death Egg in just a moment.
Pulling it back, man.
So even though Frock got a little bit behind, I mean, he's maintaining such a good pace right now. So I mean, there's some scary stuff in this run. So
oh, for sure.
Anything's possible.
For sure.
Ooh, so Speed Highway Classic. This is one of my favorites actually for classic stage. There's a lot of really fun movement in this. There's an interesting setup right here when you go inside of the building. It looks a little bizarre, but if you spin dash jump from that specific point, you sort of bounce off the glass in a particular way that allows you to get to this next section a bit quicker. So it just works out really conveniently for the position. Also, it kind of just does everything itself for that whole stretch.
Unfortunately, Froganaut got bad luck on Death Like Robot there, so he loses in 10 seconds roughly.
Yeah. That can't happen, unfortunately. I don't really know. I'm not familiar completely with what like the RNG ratio is for that, but it doesn't happen super often. But
I can't really tell you myself, honestly. I think it's kind of like divided perfectly with its pattern. I suppose it kind of happened.
And yeah, Speed Highway Classic is very impressive to watch, like, done fast. The pass to take through it. Rockanaut is gonna head over there himself, and Blue Mania is gonna head into Speed Highway Modern.
So let me tell you about the skip. I hate it. Really well, because I've complained about it in the past. Super cool though. So it's definitely one of the hardest things in the run. That I'm assuming both of y'all are going to be known for. So in Speed Highway Modern, fairly straightforward stage, but there's going to be a particular part we're going to get to a building with a certain little iconic section from Sonic Adventure 1 that we're going to try to actually avoid doing. I like how you keep saying it like as if I'm playing right now.
You're living through their experience.
Yeah, so normally you actually can avoid that big dash pad and go straight to the bottom of that little 2D building section, but I think we may just clip that ramp a little close. Although he is heading straight to the big old skip here, Sid, if you want to kind of
Oh
explain
yeah,
it, 'cause it still
for
gives some-
sure. All right, so he's gonna like boost himself and like launch himself upwards by drifting right at the edge of that ramp, and that will actually get him very, very high up on that building. There, once again, he's going to have to drift right on the edge and drift all the way up to the building. There is actually kill planes to the sides of it, so he does actually have to go high enough up the building and then follow some visual cues right into the darkness here, and he skips the entire rest of the stage.
Yeah, that position was absolutely gorgeous. Like one of the hardest parts really is just landing to the building and then immediately trying to get the boost into this midnight shop. Oh no,
Oh, found a kill plane there.
huh?
I did not know that close to the goal ring there were kill planes.
Really? Were you too high up above the goal ring?
He was like going straight for the goal ring, whereas usually I see Frog cannot go for the pass, so I'm assuming that near the goal ring there are other kill planes that
Wow.
So he just barely hit.
Yeah, there are. I mean, and I know this fully well from trying to skip a bunch myself. I mean, there are kill planes everywhere, in all sorts of weird positions that you kind of have to avoid. So, but that's a new one for me.
Mm-hmm. Haven't seen that either.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a precise skip.
Yeah. And once you don't get it, like you gotta make sure you have enough boosts. So you just gotta kind of wait for the enemies to come along and give him some of that boost.
Yeah, so you see Blue Mania, he'll get to the building and he's not quite able to boost up immediately, but you can plant yourself and try to go for a quick hop into boost. And if you're familiar with like Unleashed Day stage running, that kind of thing, you're probably familiar with that sort of setup. Kind of similar.
Yeah.
It's just very tricky. Frock actually getting the skip.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if he can land it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's
definitely got a very clean execution.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's going a bit more lower and kind of curving himself to the right a little bit more. This is more of his setup. Instead of going straight to the goal ring, he's playing a little bit safer by going to where these police cars are and then going to travel on the path there, and he landed it. So
nicely done. And now Blue Mania has to skip as well again.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully gonna land it this time. And there you go. Yeah, this is something that I thought might happen. This skip is a game changer, dude.
Goes to show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the only one in the run. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Blue Mania playing a little bit safer by going for that side path. Yeah, I've never seen that kill plane that high up above the ring.
Me neither.
Before going straight to it. That's new to me. So.
Same. But yeah, Frog now pulling ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always skip for you. Mm-hmm. Now, whereas in SA2 you really want to avoid the cars, here you really want to hit them because they give boost. Hit all of the cars, just ruin everyone's day.
My inner Burnout fan just starts cheering every time I play this stage. Bring back Burnout, please.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Very
Stadium
nice.
Skip is a little bit interesting, especially when it comes to boost management, because there's a lot of these really kind of open pathways and little ledges and things that you kind of have to manipulate. It's sort of it reminds me a lot of Sky Sanctuary, especially the intro a little bit, except without all the really annoying bottomless pits. But there's quite a bit of management here. You can see Frog kind of going into this section with a little bit of boost, but just enough to kind of keep hitting these enemies and getting through this 2D section really nicely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It's like at first I thought of like Generations, like, oh yeah, there's not too much boost management or that. But after looking like deeper into the run, yeah.
Once you really start, like a lot of games, once you slap a timer on yourself, everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it really just comes down to like getting those boost jumps and how much boost actually depletes per each button press. That's really what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gotta definitely be very careful with your button presses, because like the initial startup of the boost, that is what takes up the majority of it. If you then hold it, that's usually fine.
Yeah, and that 2D section, I just want to say, that 2D section from Blue Mania is just, that was gorgeous. Very, very smooth. Yeah, some of the, and so, like, going fast in some of the like the modern 2D sections can be quite tricky compared to something like classics in this game. So it's really impressive to see when it's just so buttery smooth like that.
Mm-hmm. Also making use of the drifting a little bit in that truck chase section, just so you go a little bit faster. You can't do it throughout the entirety of it, but fortunately for a little bit, you can. So the truck has no chill in this game. Oh, crap.
Yeah,
Yes.
these usual dash pads are the worst. You know, they get rid of your drift because they're jerks.
Mm-hmm.
Dash pads in boost games are typically we typically just don't want to deal with them. Like we try to hop over them or boost the frame that we touch them and all that kind of stuff. Like we don't want to deal with
Exactly.
them. They cap all of our stuff and it's like
They're there to
think
regulate speed, not to give speed.
Yeah. Well, they want to help, and I feel bad, but it's like you know, I got other techniques I can do. So.
They're trying. They're trying.
They're good little boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Frog's going gonna be finishing up this little classic section soon. Blue Mania going into it. Classic. I don't know why I can't think of it. City Escape. There you go. Classic City Escape. A little interesting. In fact, I don't know how long it's been actually since people stopped really using the skateboard for this, but I didn't actually know this until recently when I was catching back up with the game. But yeah, you can pretty much ditch the skateboard, which is unfortunate because I love watching little Sonic ride a skateboard. It's adorable, and kind of get through that whole section you normally ride that on pretty quick. Because spin dash jumping is just that good.
Mm-hmm. It's a couple of cycles to make in the stage, like the platform, and then making sure you get through that stage before the truck turns around. And he is coming for you, dude.
Yeah, yeah. Frog cut that pretty cleanly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, platform cycles they're not super critical. You're not going to lose an excessive amount of time, but it is just nice and just looks really cool when you're able to kind of blast through that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the truck's a bit scary, but it's not the worst thing ever, thankfully.
We had a $20.06 donation. $2,
Hey.
just get it. From Tom Server 2. Says, come on, Generation shouldn't be the only place where Silver gets beat down. That's for the
Oh, don't worry, we'll see more.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, going to my favorite place of all, Seaside Hill. It's not actually, but let's just pretend it is because I'm a Heroes runner. But the classic one actually has to deal with a lot of like underwater platform cycles that kind of really kill the pace. But towards the end of it, that's getting a lot better.
Yeah, this is one of the sketchier, like a lot of stages similar to this. This is one of the sketchier ones where, I mean, the moment you miss something in the top path and have to fall low, it gets a bit tricky. You just want to avoid as many of those water sections as you can. Unfortunately, Frock, there is, and this is one of those spin edge jumps that's super tight, where the camera kind of pans around like that in that whole section. You have to nail this really precise platform jump in order to stay on that top while trying to go fast. And he did miss it, but it's not an excessive amount of time loss. It's just a bit of a slow path that you end up in. Yeah, it's just a matter of just having that exact precision. It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Blue is going to be coming up on that in a bit. Frognock is going to be going into this section. He's going to actually let the wheel pass over him, roll for a bit, and instead of having to deal with the chasing him too far, or having to follow it up, is even worse. He's just kind of going to skip over that big section and go right over it, which was very nicely done.
Mm-hmm. If you get like a really tight spin dash jump, then you can land just entirely on the platform, but Frognock had to like just take the boost back up. It's not too much time lost, but yeah. I just like how clean it looks when you do land up there.
No, it's beautiful. Yeah, Blue May is going to come up on that as well. Yeah, and a very precise jump from that hill. It's actually a bit more strict than you would think, and really beautiful hopping on that pillar. Just again, those clean jumps and positioning. Just getting like right on that pillar, right on that next bit of grass into the red rings, and just straight through the rest of the stage. Speaking of going straight through the rest of the stage, hey, let's go around everything. So unfortunately, we don't have the endless boost ability. Otherwise, we could just go around the whole damn stage. But we can go around that little portion of it. You're actually going to see a really cool skip from both of these guys a bit later on in the stage for modern. That I absolutely love. Just kind of, and again, just very precise boost management and movement. It's all it really comes down to.
Mm-hmm. Especially that going under the first loop, that is so tight.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is good. That first bit. That first bit is quite tricky, actually.
Yeah, it's far trickier than it looks, and it's like it's very easy to bump your head on that loop as well.
Yeah, that loop will drown you. If you can
no mercy.
So Frog's going to do a quick hop right here. He's going to boost for a little bit, stop it, boost for a little bit, stop, get one last boost, and jump to that platform. Very nicely done. Just going to skip over that whole little optional section. If you played Heroes, or if you watched any of the Heroes during the run, I'm sure you've seen like the little turtle area and then the car and all that kind of stuff. But we just want to forgo all that because it's slow.
Yeah, they shouldn't have seen the turtle section, but they saw the turtle sections a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said if.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Blue's going to be doing his own right here. So Blue doesn't go for the those quick little boosts. He just kind of holds it, but again, it works out fine. It's kind of up to preference. I like to do the quick kind of one boost after other just to kind of help me get positioning. But it's really just a matter of preference. As long as you have a mostly full boost bar, like 80% or so, you're fine.
Yeah, pretty much.
At that point, it's just like doing the movement properly and then managing the boost.
Blue making
Okay.
a little bit of an error there. He missed the homing. Oh, okay, he made it for it. So yeah, he missed the homing attack on that little badnik there, but managed to recover that really nicely. Yeah, this is one of those games that if I'm doing a run or something and I fall to a lower path, I don't look. I didn't practice that. I don't know. I'm stuck.
Oh, you're one of those guys who doesn't know his backup strat. So
nope. I don't learn backup strats in like any game I run. It's like, well, I guess I'm playing this casually for the next hour. This challenge stage is pretty cool. There's this big fish that's chasing you because you're going out of bounds, like not out of bounds of the game, but out of bounds of the buoys. But if you dip Sonic, if you pull back on the control stick and dip Sonic just a tiny bit below the water, it actually makes the fish think that you're about to drown, and so it just stops chasing you for that moment in time. So you're able to abuse that. It's really convenient actually.
It's really funny programming to me because this is like, oh, okay, my prey is about to drown. That's just, never mind.
Yeah. It's like, all right, well.
I want to have to work for this. Like, hello.
Right. It's no fun for him if he's already
exactly. Alright, Frockenhawk going into the Thunder Shield mission right here. It's not actually the fastest mission that he could choose here, but he desperately wants the Thunder Shield because it's going to speed up all of the the stages later on in the
on Blue Mania's side. He went for a really cool little gate skip there, where you actually dip Sonic low enough to while you're boosting to cross under the gate at the very end. But unfortunately, he got kind of knocked by that laser. It's pretty tight.
It saves around 5-6 seconds if you get that.
Yeah, because you don't have to go for the cannon at all. So I think it's gonna go for it again. Really nicely. Ooh, God, that's close. It's so scary.
It looks so cool though.
Yeah. So managed to get it there. Really nice.
But yeah, you really want that Thunder Shield for the later classic stages coming up. It's very useful. It gives you a double jump.
Okay, this is one of my favorite tricks. So okay, so it's so cool. So Froc's gonna be going down this building here. Normally you have to basically go into this 2D section where you're just stomping through boxes. But if he times it just right, he's gonna turn. There you go. So he just moves straight up the stage, and now he's still in a 3D space. And you just, I don't want to do it. Just skip the whole thing.
Stomp past the entire thing.
That turn is quite precise.
It is very precise, to the point where Frockenhawk didn't even use to go for this mission. He went for the drift mission instead for consistency. But then Blue Mania came along, beat his time, and be like, yo, you're gonna go for pro strats now, boy.
We're going only fast here.
Exactly. Right, coming up on the Shadow Flight, and now this is where we're going to be introduced to M-Speed, which is a little trick that is in Generations and Unleashed, where you hold the control stick at a specific tilt, to the point where like Sonic is just barely walking, and you build up some speed and you jump and you get like an insane amount of airspeed. It is incredibly tight in the PC version of Sonic Generations.
Yeah.
The fact that Frog goes for it and gets it on Shadow, like, decently consistent. Like, he's having a bit of trouble with it now, not at all unexpected. It's so crazy difficult to precise, but the fact that he goes for the runs, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Romania actually doesn't do it. He doesn't use M-Speed at all to start his run.
Yeah, as you can see, Frog managed to get it here. Thankfully, you can actually take quite a bit of time to get the setup, and I don't know if I'm correct on this. I think my Shadow kind of hangs back a little bit. I know the orb kind of manipulates its own position as well, depending on where you are, if you're too far back or anything like that. But yeah, like once you start actually using M-Speed and going forward, I mean, you just zoom past all of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is true. Depending on how you are positioning against Shadow and how fast you go, the orb kind of slow down, speed ups, kind of thing.
And yeah, Blue Mania is just gonna go for straight up boost throughout the stage, take the optimal routes. It's much safer, but you know, if you do get the M3, that is a nice chunk of time save right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, it is incredibly tight. Like if you saw the Sonic Unleashed run earlier by Josh, it's like he uses that all over the place, and like on Unleashed, it's still tough to get, especially like in the middle of a run, but it is definitely very feasible to get it consistently. And then on the console version of Generations, it's more difficult, and then on the PC version, it's like so precise that sometimes people can pull it off.
So Blumania is finishing up Shadow here. Rockskunk is going to be going into Perfect Chaos. Yeah, so something really neat about this is that they sort of turned the Perfect Chaos fight into its own kind of unique little stage here. And thankfully, you don't need Supersonic. Boost 3 here. But doing those little pauses after the first couple hits on Perfect Chaos actually allows you to kind of yeah, it just kind of ends that little scene a bit quicker so you can land sooner. I guess it's a matter of like loading the next section.
I think it's very telling that my favorite boss in this game is a stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, they definitely made this really fun to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And towards the end of it, you gotta like, because of like how fast you're going to the stage, you actually gotta wait for the platforms to go up a bit before you can actually get on them.
Oh yeah.
That is coming up after the next hit for Akanak. Blumania also in Perfect Chaos. I always like seeing this in races when they're just on the same stage / boss.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're on this last phase on Frognaut's side right now, so he's just going kind of boosting over these platforms. Some weird stuff. If you go a little too fast, some of the platforms sort of despawn in a strange way, but thankfully, again, the objects and collision and everything are still there, so it's okay. Yeah, really, really nice there.
Very clean.
Yeah, well, yeah, this is a really scary spot for you to actually die in because unfortunately, I mean, you have a decent amount of boost going in, usually about half a bar or more, going into that last section. So you're able to do those again, like those really intense little boost jumps there and boost hops and stuff to get over those platforms. But if you happen to die on that section and restart, you're not going to have anything except for the first 3 rings right in front of you. So it makes it a bit tricky, and you kind of have to go around a different pathway. So it's one of those examples of something being really, really punishing.
Indeed. Alright, now for a stage that, in my opinion, flows really well in the speed strat. I love Crisis City Modern, though, at least the way it looks.
If you're good, it's smooth. If you're bad, like me, it's,
oh yeah,
2D sections.
It's like for sure. It's like if you can, like if you're practiced enough to make it look like this smooth, then it absolutely looks amazing.
Now.
But,
I'll see if this was a 6 Crisis, well, I would still be bad. But that's not the case. So Blumania got through the chaos fight really well.
You would kick their ass down.
So hey, well.
Alrighty.
Yeah, again, some pretty tight boost conservation happening here and stuff. You know, you can imagine that's happening if the bar's really low, like it is. Again, all those little jumps just costing quite a bit of meter, but you're gonna gain a fair bit of back during this little 2D section that Frog's going into right now. That's really nice movement on that part. Blumania is starting to catch up here in the 3D section.
Oh boy, what happened
there? So boosting along that wall, if you're not running along it, if you're just sort of sliding, it can be a little weird when you're trying to hop off. And yeah.
Unfortunate.
Frog going into that in that 2D section I absolutely despise. Just really precise stomps there. Came out really nice. There is some platform cycle stuff involved with that because the platforms are slightly sort of raising and lowering. But I think you can avoid it for the most part by just making sure that your jumps are high enough and fairly precise enough to make sure you don't actually accidentally go into the pillar below the platform or anything like that.
Shout out to Frog actually hitting the goal ring, by the way. It's very easy to just start.
Yeah. You can,
Speaking from personal experience here.
Oh no, I know full well.
The thing is that during that, if you miss the gold ring, many people try to air dash towards their gold ring and hit the enemy on the left.
Yeah, so Frog's going back to the beginning here, going to pick up the Thunder Shield, which we got from the side mission earlier. So he's going to apply that to Classic Sonic, and then we're going to be using that pretty much the rest of Classic Sonic stages. So much like the challenge mission, once you activate it, you're allowed to get a double jump. Now, again, the really tricky thing, what makes some of these stages so scary, is that if you get hit once, you lose that shield, and you cannot activate it again unless you die or just completely restart the stage. So you have to either alter strats or judge based on like, am I going to lose too much time and take a death if it's really quick and available.
Mm-hmm.
But that double jump just does wonders for going across some of these gaps and just skipping some of these things. 'Cause-
skip an entire section right there.
Yeah.
Just by jumping to the beam earlier.
Wow, guys, we have a really big donation. We have $50 from Professor Nintendo.
Wow,
Hey,
nice.
oh.
No comment. But I'm gonna put that towards Silver cutscene.
That's good.
Well, always nice to see Silver get destroyed.
Thank you very much.
So now we're
Yes,
almost halfway there.
So this is where the routes are going to differ a little bit. Blue Mania prefers to do the modern stages for Sonic first, and then he goes back, gets the Thunder Shield for Classic, and does all the Classic stages. So there's going to be a little variance in what you're seeing right now, since Rock goes ahead and kind of does everything in the standard modern, classic, modern order.
Yeah.
So there wasn't. I'm just if anyone missed it, there wasn't a wrong warp. Nothing
Nope.
crazy. Nothing crazy
Just
happened.
pull ahead,
So
just
we're-
different,
yeah.
just different routing. That's all. And Blue Mania in the modern version of the run is like Crisis City looks like it flows really well when it's done speedrunning. It's like this stage just speedruns well or flows well. Period. It's
Mhm.
even casually.
Well, when you base a stage based off the best game, I mean, it's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. It's actually surprising how relatively easy compared to like the other two stages that are in this section of the game Rooftop Run Modern is,
Hmm.
or how far in the game it is. That's fine though. It's good fun to go through. And if you were to be actually really good at M speed, it is an absolute playground for that.
Oh my gosh, it is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone's
Look
interested, go look up some of like the console ILs for for Jin stages, because oh man, especially for rooftop, it's so
Mhm.
cool.
For sure. Meetup Rock is going to Rooftop Classic, and speaking of stages that flow well, this one doesn't. It just doesn't.
Yeah, it's got some weird quirks and things in here. Fox is trying to get the switch here. Again, you want to avoid like getting hit by the barrels, getting into enemies, anything else, because like losing that Thunder Shield, especially on a stage like this, is just really impactful. But he's getting through it pretty well. Blue Mania is going to be on this this final section, this final stretch here. God, I wish I had QSS in this game. But it's okay.
I know, right?
So yeah, he's going to be kind of boosting on through, pretty straightforward.
And since this stage is so vertical, like the Thunder Shield puts in work. in Rooftop
Yeah, you can
Classic.
kind of skip through a lot of these platforms and get through. And we even get a little cool damage boost here.
Didn't even
Or
have
we
to get
don't, that's right,
damaged.
because Frog's good, so he knows how to time jump, so I just get hit by the thing and fall in.
Yeah. Fell down for a little bit, but other than that,
Mhm.
good Rooftop Run Classic.
Very nice.
Alright. Now we got Bannerwiz Modern over there for the Blue Mania, and one of the most critiqued stages for being just incredibly long casually. I absolutely adore it in a speedrun.
I
At
love
least
the
watching
stage.
it.
Oh yeah.
Playing it as well, actually, but that might just be because I'm biased towards colors.
I mean, I'm biased towards good stages, but it's just, so
Fair enough.
yeah, Frog's doing his own rooftop modern right now, but again, Planet Wisp modern, definitely one of my favorites, highlighted by a really cool trick that you're going to see both of these dudes attempt in just a little bit. We got some really sick movement through this whole section in the forest area, so.
And we do actually have Wisp coming up. We have
Yeah.
the Rocket Wisp for Modern, and unlike in Colors, where if you hit another Wisp while already in a Wisp form, it just extends your meter, with this one you just pick up a second one. So you can carry that over and use that for something really cool later.
Yeah, so really precisely, you can actually, if you want to play it safer, you can jump up to that platform right where that second wisp was that you just saw, and just do it from right under there. But if you do it way lower, you have to angle yourself pretty precisely to make sure that your rocket wisp, the one that you're actually in, hits that bubble. So really nice movement there. Save a few seconds.
And what Blue Mania is going to do here is he is going to jump over this ramp, activate rocket at the right time, and then just skip right ahead into the upcoming 2D section like way later. It skips like the vast majority of that 2D section.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Doing some really cool movement right here, just kind of going around, using the rest of his boost, getting that wisp from the right side, and just go straight up here. So a lot of the way this initial trick works is that by jumping over that ramp, you're essentially going from, again, like kind of a 3D into 2D sort of scenario where you're maintaining your momentum from the 3D section and going into the 2D section. Because the way the game, similar to something like Unleashed and Colors, the way the game understands your actual like capped speed, your max speed in 3D is different from 2D. It's like a 50% difference. And so that's why when the camera's kind of panning around and towards the 2D section, it looks like Sonic is going so much faster than he normally would be if he was just jumping off the ramp. And if you just time it right, you're able to use that rocket and kind of go, pretty much out of bounds and then back into it, and back into the 2D section.
It's fantastic. Blue Mania picking up the Thunder Shield and then making his way to the rest of the missions there.
Hmm.
Or the rest of the stages, rather. The classic stages. Going through everything Frog has already gone through right here. Yeah. Well, Frog is going to his own Planet Wismata.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully he can get us going. Oh, actually, no, he's doing classic first. That's right. That's
classic,
good. That means we get to talk about another really cool skip.
Yeah, this is also I like how every skip in this game is my favorite skip. I'm just gonna shut up. So
except Speed Highway.
I love this game. So yeah, except for Speed Highway, that one can. So the classic Planet Wisp skip is really neat that we're going to see here in a little bit. Obviously, you're seeing the spike whips used a bunch, which allows us to do what you obviously tell us doing. Go along the walls, activate these little switches and things like that. Before the big one though, there is a cool out of bounds trick you're going to see just a moment. Frog's going to line himself up in this corner, use the spike wisp, and hold left, and essentially kind of go like he's going to wrap himself around that little corner there and kind of go out of bounds, which is really neat. And thankfully, there's a Eggman spring there that you can use to push yourself back in bounds. What a nice guy to do that thoughtful.
But yeah, that is not where the skips in involving Spike Wisp stop at all.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you explain this one? They're gonna be.
You do it. I don't understand it.
You don't understand?
I just think it looks really cool.
Okay, well, the general idea behind this is that, and I'm sure a lot of people who have seen things similar to this, like in other Sonic games, may be familiar. The idea is that if you look at a loop, you have to think of it as two individual planes. Sonic is transferring from one plane to another, even though the entire time he's still in a 2D space. But what you're doing with the spike wisp is that the spike is trying to attach itself to whatever it can. And if you jump with the spike wisp while you're in the spike form, right where that loop is starting, it gets a little confused as to which sort of layer it wants to attach itself to. So it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to turn horizontal. And of course, if it's turning horizontal, it thinks that up is forward, which is towards the screen. And so if you hold right, you just kind of float your way along, and it's really weird. But
yeah.
And but the coolest thing though is that when you're falling, you can actually pop out of the spike wisp, but then after using a wisp, you regain your thunder shield. So which is super convenient. And without that thunder shield, we wouldn't actually be able to jump back in bounds, which is really crucial. So by using the thunder shield, immediately jumping at a certain time, you can go back in bounds and make the whole skip work. So it's just so cool.
Yeah. There are times though where the game can be a bit trolly and not give you double jump back. And I've seen runs die that way, and it's very painful.
I've had that happen once and it hasn't happened again, so I'm just going to consider it a myth. Maybe I was drunk that day, I don't know.
Maybe. But yeah, if you were not if you would not have the Thunder Shield there, which is actually the case in, like, for instance, Doppelganger missions in 100%, then there is actually an alternative you can do where you basically use the same clip out by using it on the very corner, and then you get over to the end of it just by going on a whole bunch of invisible walls with Spike.
Mhm.
And then you gotta do like 50 million spin dashes to clip back and bounce.
So I have some good news and some bad news.
Hmm.
Which one do you want first?
Hit me with the bad news.
Okay, the bad news is Zaxxon's power is still not back.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
So we had to move up the 06 block. So right after this run, so 06 block.
Alright.
And the good news is we're raising money for an awesome charity.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true.
Yeah, 06 will be next now.
Okay. I hope he gets his power back soon. That's unfortunate. Frog getting a really nice jump for his own playing with Skip here. So you got the right head to get back in. Yep, okay, oh, I was close. He missed the red rings there, but he was still close enough to go forward enough to get on those platforms.
Oh boy, falling down a little bit there. And some partially drawn scenery. Didn't quite get to the height on it. No worries. And in the meantime, Blue Mania is making his way through the classic Final Wisp as well, so...
Did someone host us? Where did we get 400 viewers from?
From this awesome race, of course.
I mean,
Oh, okay, Big John hosted us. I was about to say, dang, where'd
there
that
you
come
go.
from?
Shout out to Big John.
really solid modern playing a list there from
Alright.
Frog sub 230s. Gorgeous.
And this is kind of where the routes kind of converge again a bit, so we can clearly see that Frog is indeed still in the lead. For a little bit there, Blue Mania also had some struggles with the heavy winds on Crisis City. He couldn't get his way to the goal ring, but yeah. Still, considering the amount of like ball busting tricks in this game, the fact that they're like within a stage of each other is still very impressive. Silver, hello. What are you doing here? You're not until later. That's
Wait,
6
you
bucks
said
starts
06
now, I
was
guess.
happening right now.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Alright, Romania having his own go at the Final Wisp Classic skip. And the silver boss fight is like pretty simple. You attack the cars in order to get up to him. And yeah, gotta walk on the cars to get to him.
Yeah, there's some manipulation that goes into his phases, especially like one of the key things at the very beginning of the fight is trying to make sure that you get that very first jump and homing attack on that car that he has out.
Right.
It can be kind of easily missed.
There we go. Romania also getting ready to go into silver.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I forget, but like some of the other fights, I think it's you can affect what attack he does or like what phase he goes into based on like in between certain attacks if you're constantly boosting to get to a certain part of the stage or if you're like kind of holding back and avoiding boost. I forget if that's correct or not.
Yeah, it's pretty much based on where you are. If I was after the
Alright.
first hit, still before the turning point, he would do the attack where he, has the 3 boxes above my head.
Okay. Thought so. Yeah, that's a pretty common sort of motif that's you can see in a lot of these bosses, but essentially like manipulating where you are along the stage or like a course, because a lot of these bosses do follow some sort of track and kind of a big circle, and depending on whether or not like you pull back to a certain degree at certain points to manipulate their position or where you are in the stage that to determine a certain attack. There's all these little nuances.
Also, I'm gonna have to stop you right there because Frog Canuck just did
Frog
something
just
really cool.
Nailed this stupid trick that I hate. He's gonna have to. Okay, yeah, he's gonna have to go around this little position right here. He did do a 3D and 2D. Wasn't able to get to the ledge immediately, but managed to go around to get on that little box over there and nailed it.
Yeah, I didn't have a good air dash there, so I had to turn around.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of backtracking, getting that 3D, launching himself off the ramp, and if you get a really, really good launch, but it's very difficult, especially with that camera angle, you can go straight to the goal.
Yeah.
small little trick coming up right here for Froggenok as well. It's just gonna do a quick side step and just go in between some bombs. Easy peasy.
I went for the modern one, so we can show you guys the different route we take. Blue Mania is probably gonna go for the classic mission in modern, in Ruthobrand, that is.
That's interesting. I thought you actually did all of the same missions at this point.
The classic one, Blue Mania, found out that if you can get an early cycle, a really early cycle, which is like super tight, you can actually save about 6 seconds
Oh,
compared to
Oh, wow.
modern. But the cycle itself is like ridiculously difficult.
Blue Mania, just beautiful stage, sub 20 right there,
Nice.
landing right into the goal rings. Gorgeous.
absolutely nailed it. Really nice. Ah, yeah. Blue Mania doesn't need go for the classic mission right here. Let's see if he can pull it off. While Froggenok goes into his favorite boss.
Touche.
Actor Goon is just stupid. It's like this first hit is simple enough, you go for it, but then he like transitions into a 2D section, and you kind of gotta like manipulate your, or very specifically do your speed, like let go of boost for a specific time, then jump, and very specifically time 3 homing attacks.
Right.
If you get that, then you can get a really early kill. Otherwise, you have to sit through a lot more attacks.
Yeah, this is pretty much the most precise point, so he's going to jump over that last attack, get the homing attack on, and from here on, he'll boost until the camera starts to pan around to the 2D space, stop boosting, and then pull back. And that's actually, you're going to see Egdragoon sort of start to fly towards him. There you go, and he got all 3 of the homing attacks, and it looks really weird because of the way the collision and the hitbox is. It looks like Sonic's just kind of homing attacking nothing, just the space in front of him. But if you time it just perfectly, you can, get all those homing attacks, and that's going to determine how many phases you have to deal with after. There is a little more luck involved in terms of the falling section, because if you're super lucky,
Let me
like
stop you
Froggenok,
right there. Let me stop you right there because we actually found out how to get the fast drop, Dax.
Did you really?
Izayoi,
Oh.
an IL runner of the game, actually found out what you need to do to get the fast drop, which is, by the
Really?
way, you need to hold 0.50, half a second pretty much, the control, your input direction pretty much, while Sonic starts his diving animation. You know that little thing that, pulls out, like when you boost, the sound barrier and stuff? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, doing that, you need to hold for half a second an input direction and you get the fast drop, which is insanely difficult to do, obviously.
Yeah, I already hate it. So
Yeah, just from the description alone.
I'm already kind of mad. So,
I know,
So-
I know.
Like I was gonna ask you, it's like if you know how to do it, then why didn't you do it? But yeah, okay, that explains it.
I actually tried.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I mean, hey, at least you have an idea of something to go for, just in case.
indeed.
But yeah, so as long as you get those 3 homing attacks, you can immediately go through the portal into the falling section again. I guess if you're not lucky, but if you get the input right, you can get 3 hits in the falling section actually in the fight early.
Blue Mania got
very
him there.
nicely
Yes.
nailing that.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's pretty much Blue Mania's whole
That
fight
was
right there is
yeah,
pretty much ideal. Yeah.
It was beautiful. Thank you for showing off the thing we were talking about.
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna let Dax take time eater because I don't understand him. I'm kind of hoping he does.
No, yeah, sure.
Right.
So, well, I mean, we got to talk. Look, I got to talk about the beautiful texture on the high-res texture on these gears because, oh my god, you just get to look at them for
So long.
so long.
So long.
Just what a man. So pacing is a thing. So time eater is a weird fight, man. So there's a fair amount of manipulation happening for these first couple of phases. Really, when you start off, you're just going to kind of be boosting through. Again, you are supersonic, so make sure you collect a handful of rings for make sure you don't die. He's going to do kind of a couple swipes here, fairly easy to avoid. You just kind of want to go to the center and get close enough to where both of the Sonics will start locking onto him and just start kind of attacking away. The next section Frog's going to be going into here, you don't boost at all. You actually, again, this is just a matter of manipulating the boss in the actual course. You can kind of see how it's curving up and going over this hill You're gonna wait, yeah. So he goes into the 2D section the moment he does the Agaman and Time Eater do the homing shots. He's gonna try to stay up, kind of at the top of the tube, to make sure that he's able to catch up to Time Eater as quickly as he can. This whole section can be really annoying if Time Eater gets too far away, especially at the top of that hill and going down. It's so hard to catch him, and you might as well restart. So you saw that flash right there. He immediately went into 3D the moment that flash happened, where Time Eater was transitioning, and then at a certain point in time goes actually back into 2D. And what happens there is that Time Eater essentially you're manipulating his position by being in 3D, is changing where he is in proportion to you. And so by quickly going back into that 3D section like in the way he did from the out of bounds state.
time. Sorry.
Oh, in time. Yeah, sorry about that. In time. So by doing that, you're able to just like kind of end up straight on top and Frog did that beautifully.
It was like 58, 52.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. That's what I have as well. So technically, if I didn't have the crash, this was around close to my PB. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a beast of a run, dude.
Unfortunately, Blue Mania didn't. He kind of the timing on that switch is really precise, so he didn't end up nailing it there. And this is one of those cases where, again, I don't do backups, so I wouldn't know what to actually do here.
Time meter?
Yeah, he didn't get didn't switch back in time for the breakout, so he got put away really far from Time Eater.
Yeah.
And so now he got Chaos Control.
Oh, I
Nice
see.
stuff.
Yeah. Zawado.
Sawaldo.
I see. Yeah. It's you can keep going or you can restart. Honestly, in that situation, it's kinda more or less the same thing. If you restart during that, you're probably losing around another 1 minute and a half. So, but if you keep going, it's that time you pretty much gonna take you to actually finish him normally. So yeah, it's pretty much the same. It's whatever you want to do. Keep going or restart.
Fair enough.
Oh boy, I'm kinda mad about the crash and all that, but I guess yeah.
You had a beast of a run to make up for it, and
You pulled a flying fox.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Like I said, man, game had to give you a handicap because you very much capitalized on.
Honestly
every opportunity
speaking,
you had.
I mean, Blue Mania, it's like super late for him. It's like 6 in the
Oh,
morning
yeah.
or something. Like because the good
Oh,
dude,
gosh,
like
that's
he lives like in South Korea, so yeah, like
Mhm.
and
To be fair though, that's what he
Shout
had
out
on
to
his
him.
availability.
so. And he ran earlier forces as well. You know what? It's not easy to change from one game to another immediately. Like as much as like people
I'm
think.
just gonna say you're not allowed to have 2 really good runs in one marathon. It's like his forces run was super good. It was like so close to PB and world record, and then he had to compensate. It's not allowed.
I'm surprised that once again Speed Highway decided.
So, time going up. Yeah, time right there.
There you go.
And that was still like a really good race.
Mm-hmm.
Very back and forth.
Like 1 at 130.
Nice.
GG Blue Mania.
That was very entertaining to watch you two going at it.
Listen, when I said this game was punishing, I wasn't kidding. Okay, people were.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, I had some skeptics in the chat, but listen, this
No,
is hard.
Yeah, I hope
yeah.
people enjoyed it with the crash and all stuff. Like, oof.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sweating.
According to FF, if she calculated it correctly, you got a 55-29 without if you didn't have the controller issues.
I got the 55-29.
If it wasn't for the controller issues, apparently, according
Really?
to FF.
Wait,
Yeah.
you serious right now? I got 55-29.
Yeah.
I just tied my PB.
The feeling you thought you
What a monster. Well, yeah, follow both of these guys. They are both fantastic runners of Generations.
We did actually have a
Absolutely,
donation
absolutely.
too.
Ooh, nice.
From Blue Lightning 914 of $5. He said, "How to donate for my favorite streamers streaming my favorite Sonic games for an amazing cause, simultaneously keeping me very entertained on my birthday."
Oh,
Keep
happy
up the good work.
birthday! Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Thank you very much for
Happy
the donation.
birthday.
Oof.
So damn it, Frogknock, tying PBs is my thing.
And the consistent seed.
It's my thing. Don't steal my thing.
Oof.
Do you have world record?
You're all washed out, Sid.
Frog?
Oh yeah.
Huh?
No,
Yeah,
no,
world
he
record?
tied his PB.
I tied my PB.
Oh,
Like,
or well, he would have if it wasn't for the controller issues.
that's actually
What
quite
I'm saying,
amazing.
do you have world record though?
No.
Mm.
The actual
Blue Mania.
Blue
Blue Mania
Mania
has world record.
has the world record
wow.
with 54:29, I think.
50. No. 28.
28. Okay, 54:28. There you go.
Mm-hmm. So we got like the actual top 2 runners right here.
Yeah, this was like an actual 1-2 race, and the first ever race for Generations, honestly, in a marathon and whatnot. So that was really enjoyable, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Well done, both of you.
Thank you.
So the 6 block.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alright,
That'd
see
be
you
good.
guys.
See ya.
Oh,
See